Well, it is an early one this morning, just coming up at 5 AM. We're on the road to Crystal Palace today. There is a few issues with the trains. I believe King's Cross not open today, which is not convenient for the many Newcastle fans setting off to the capital. That looks like our train is already in nice and early. It's time to pick up our tickets.
On the left, please. Morning, everybody.
Welcome aboard this service to Three Bridges. We will be calling at
One thing worth noting about Crystal Palace is it's probably the only ground that's got a supermarket connected to it. What one of the talking points was in the build-up to this game, Mark Gahey, Newcastle United's transfer target in the summer, the move that didn't end up coming off for Eddie Howe or Newcastle United, or indeed Mark Gahey himself, who I think at one stage probably would have liked the move to go through. It didn't. He's fully committed to life here at Crystal Palace, and Newcastle must go in against his side today. And they're looking for a big result down here. Obviously losing to West Ham the other night 2-0 at St James Park, really disappointing. Eddie Howe himself said it was a disjointed display, didn't enjoy the last half hour of that game. Newcastle just had no answer to West Ham. Today they're going to have to start probably on the front foot again. Newcastle tactics have been questioned in the build-up to this game. What identity do they want? Are they going to be that counter-attacking team? Are they going to be a team that really goes for it for the front foot? Eddie Howe himself probably still developing that idea because he's playing with new players this season. So I think really for Newcastle today, big result would be nice. Liverpool next at St James Park, which is going to be extremely tough. Probably the best team in Europe right now. But for Newcastle, they do need to get something on the board today. A win would be fantastic. I reckon you could probably talk to some Newcastle fans who might take a point because this is a tough fixture. Palace at the bottom of the table struggling, will be up for it too. But yeah, tough game all round, and Newcastle in dire need of something today. Well, we're in the shadow of Selhurst Park after Newcastle United's 1-1 draw here today in the capital, and unfortunately Newcastle United could not hold on to that lead given to them by Mark Gahey of all people. We spoke to Eddie Howe afterwards in the press conference, and he was as dejected as you would expect him to be after such a close run thing. Newcastle had the points in the hand, let's be totally honest, and it was a defensive sort of retreat that, you know, allowed them to throw it away. I mean, I've had a look back at the goal. I mean, it's a good cross from Gehi, but it goes over Bruno's head, and Newcastle do not look alive and alert at that back post, and it's one that you would look at and say it was avoidable. But if we're being honest, if we're being truly honest, Newcastle United didn't have a shot on target, so can you fully expect to be walking away with 3 points thanks to an own goal? I think you'd be very lucky to do that. And personally, I think I've only witnessed one game in the Premier League that I've covered in which a game was won by a team that had no shots on target, and that was Middlesbrough, and that was an own goal as well, funnily enough. So that was a long time ago. I haven't seen it happen again since. Someone who's got a lot of stats might be able to find that and find me another couple, but that's only that would have been the first time I've witnessed that for a long time. So Newcastle taking a point here. I think they now have to regroup, dust themselves down for that game against Liverpool in midweek. The fans today were fantastic. They were tucked away in the corner, but we could hear them all the way through, really getting behind the team, getting behind the individuals, knowing the team was in a difficult moment. But ultimately they've had to witness a last gasp choker almost, and really, had you offered them a point when Isak went off, then I think most Newcastle fans might have taken that down here. Tough game against Crystal Palace, yes, they're in the relegation zone, but I think they're in a false position, and I think other teams will come here later in the season and lose, because Oliver Glasner's got a very good thing going on here, and they do not look like a team who are in the relegation zone to me, and the recent form shows that. But look, that's no consolation at the minute. I know that the fans worked hard to get here today. There's been a train strike, there's been all kinds of things going on in terms of travel. It's been very difficult for them on a busy day in London, but they managed to get here and get behind the team. I think we now have to take the point almost and move on until that game against Liverpool, which comes in midweek. It's at James Park. They're going up against the toughest side in Europe, the most informed side in Europe, and I think realistically, if you offered me a draw now against Liverpool, then I'd certainly take it. But strange things can happen at St James's Park on any given day. Newcastle can, pick up big results against the very best. We've seen that last season. The likes of PSG coming to St James's Park and losing. We've seen Man United down the years. We've seen Man City. We've seen Liverpool. We've seen them all come and lose at St James's Park. So we have to try and stay positive, remain as positive as possible. But I think ultimately today, it will be disappointing. But when you dust yourself down, a point might not be the worst thing in the world. The news on the striker front, Isak, he's going to be okay by the look of it. It's a knock to the side of his leg. It's not a muscle pull. It's not a break or anything serious like that. Yes, he was hobbling, but I think really when Newcastle fans start looking at the reports and looking at the press conference, they'll see that it's not as bad as first feared. One of the interesting things that was said in the press conference was, can Eddie Howe go and buy a striker in January? He said it will be an extortionate amount of money, and he doesn't believe that Newcastle United have the funds to do that. So he said we're going to have to get by with the players we've got. We're going to have to try and get Callum Wilson fit. We're going to have to try and get Isak fit, and William Masula will get his opportunity eventually. He didn't get that today. Eddie Howe on Wilson said he could only play for half an hour, but I think ultimately today Newcastle couldn't convert when they needed to. They didn't create enough. Sadly, that cost them in the end. They picked up a point. It was cruel, but that's football. Newcastle now move on that Liverpool game, and they must stay positive.